Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. If you are new here, you're welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you also for coming back to watch my video. So in the sea of so many Amo princess and princess that busty, sometimes it's confusing to choose which one to use. So in this video, I went through three types of Amo bustier pattern in order to discover which one is the best Amo bustier for you to use for your sewing projects. So this is not a tutorial at all. This is more of a like test kitchen for except for sewing. So just follow along as I test out these three different patterns that I cut and I sew. You know that what I'm doing is just a test, and so it's not necessarily what you need to use for your own sewing projects. So the first pattern that I have here is one of the most found pattern on YouTube. Here I'm just proceeding to draw up my pattern. Remember also that this is not a tutorial, so it's just me talking you through the process that I used to determine which armor pieces that bustier is best for your sewing projects. So here the first pattern that I'm drawing, obviously I have to draw the basic bodice pattern, and after drawing the basic bodice pattern I can now proceed to create my bustier. So just watch as I do that. So after creating my princess armhole princess that you see that from the under bust area and from the waist area I went out by 2 inches to use for the dart, and of course don't forget the dart that goes around the armhole itself, and then I'm going to add all my allowances for the dart that I removed. But you realize that I'm going in around that under bust area, and that is because they are measuring my under bust round exactly, as opposed to using my waist measurements from just the bust to the waist. If you're a seasoned tailor, you should understand what I'm trying to say. This is not particularly for beginners, so as it's for people that's already working on sewing projects and they're just trying to find the best of out of what they do, so that they don't have to go through trial and error in order to determine the best thing. So here for my second pattern, I think I kind of like this pattern in that here I do underbust tightening, as you're going to see as the video progresses. So the underbust tightening means that whatever dust that you're going to put around the waist area is going to be longer or bigger, I don't know which word is correct, under the for the underbust. So if I'm going to remove 1.5 as my dart around the waist area, at the underbust I'm going to add half inches to that, or say 1.5, which means 7.5 on either side of the dividing dart. At the underbust area I now went in by 1.25, so the collective dart for my underbust area is going to come to 2.5, while the dart for the waist area is going to come to 1.5. So that's a bit of difference, such that when you wear the garment it's going to be fitted around the bust area. But the issue I realize with this is that if you're somebody like me, because I'm using my body measurements, the difference between your bust and your waist is not much. The measurement or the pattern ends up looking like this. It looks kind of misshaped somehow. So I guess the best way to eliminate that is that just add 6 inches to your regular sewing pattern, and then when you finish cutting it out you can now remeasure your measurements. So here the third pattern, and which I think is like the most bougie of all of this pattern, is the one that you are going to add a bust dart. Now the bust dart is not something that is very easy for a lot of people to do, because it's just I feel like it's now that it's just gaining a lot of popularity. Obviously I'm sure that there are tailors that have been doing it or fashion designers that have been using it, but it's gaining more popularity now because of technology and everybody easily shares what they are doing. So here what happens is that you are going to find the difference between the shoulder to the waist of the front of your front bodies and the shoulder to the waist of your back bodies. Usually it's between 1 and 2, so it could be 1.5 and it could be 2, and then the difference between this length is what is going to constitute the bust dart. And if you can see there, from that bust point area you go down by the difference in that length, which mine is here is 2 inches. And also for this pattern I did my under bust tightening, because I realized that the under bust tightening actually is part of the reason that it's going to be even be more cut. Obviously you don't have to do the under bust tightening, but then remember we are trying to find the perfect pattern. I think the perfect busty pattern, whether princess or anyone, actually needs to have an under bust tightening. So the using this pattern also means that I get a misshape like that. So like I said, if you are someone that are just starting out, I just suggest that whatever measurements you are working with, add 6 inches to it. And then when you finish sewing out the darts, you now retake all your measurements. So I proceeded to cut out all the patterns on my fabric. I'm using scrap fabric here, so I'm sorry if everything looks mismatched. And don't forget that I should notch the points that you're going to use to join, such that you will know what fits where when you are joining it. So after doing that, I proceeded to join everything. So it's not a perfect work that I'm doing here, because I'm doing a test for myself as much as for anybody that is watching this video right now to see. So I proceeded to join all the patterns on my sewing machine, so that when I join it, the aim of what makes the best bustier is that how well does it cope without even you wearing bra, or without even you adding foam. So that's the test here. I want to see what pattern or what method of cutting the armhole process that brings out the best cupping around the bust area, such that you get this cinched, yes, that's the word, cinched feel when you put on your garment. So here I think after I've already done all of the testing on the pattern, transferring into the fabric now and now sewing it for you to see, so that at the end of the day you and I can actually judge which pattern gives the best cup effects. Also remember that when you are transferring your pattern to your paper here, you have to add half an inch around all the areas that you indicated for it, and there's a likelihood that your fabric might not end up coming out exactly as the pattern, which is why you create that notch. What the notch does is that it helps you to match, say, the bust points of the center front to the side front, such that you are not missing out on your measurements. So even if the length doesn't correlate, because you have already notched where the bust points of the center fabric and the side fabric is going to be, you can easily match it and then retake your measurements. So part of the things that causes the garment to not come out nice is that if you are not checking your measurements along the way, so check and recheck as you're sewing, and that will help you to get the best effects. Also remember that when you're sewing a bustier, which is a curved seam, you have to make sure that you notch the bustier. Now, because this is a test, I did not iron stay on it, but please, when you are sewing your own, please iron stay on it. So now this is the first pattern I'm showing you. The first fabric cut from the pattern, I used my normal bra that I put on as the cup effects underneath. That is why it's looking bulgy at that area there. So here I'm going to introduce the pattern that I use, which is the normal pattern that doesn't, I think this pattern here does not require you using, okay, the first pattern, sorry, it requires you doing the underbust tightening. That's the pattern, the second pattern actually, if you started watching my video from the beginning, that shows me doing underbust tightening, and you can see that it gives a very nice cupped effect because the underbust is cinched compared to the waist area. There's just a way that it naturally curves around the bust area. So here I feel like this is the second best way to cut your armhole persistent. Now this is the first pattern I cut where I did not do an under bust tightening, and I realized that this is actually one of the most common way that YouTubers or even people that so generally use. Please, this pattern is not very nice for sewing armhole persistent because not cinching the under bust makes the curve not to be as curvy. It just falls a little bit flat around the underbust area, and if that happens when your client puts on the garment and is not putting bra, the fitting is not very nice because the underbust is not cinched. Now this is the last pattern, which I call the bougie one. I think this is actually the perfect way for you to cut your Amo princess bustier. Know that this one involves the use of the underbust tightening as well as the breast darts. Because of that, you just have more fitting around the underbust, and maybe because of the mismatched fabric you cannot really see the effects, but trust me when I say that this is the best. But because of this weird V or this weird curve I'm having around the area, I suggest that you should not add seam allowance on the pattern, rather
So the best thing for you to do is just when you are cutting out your side pattern, add 6 inches to whatever it is that you already have. So when you finish sewing it, then you can now take your measurements again, and then you can have your perfect measurements. So if you have watched my videos this far, thank you. I really appreciate you. Please stay tuned for other videos like this. God bless you. Bye for now.